present.
Goodfriend.
Here.
Hoda.
Here.
Smith.
Present.
Klein.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Approval of the agenda and order of business. I would like to make one change, actually two changes to the agenda. So one change is under reports. I would like to put as 4A, which would actually be a presentation, but we can put it in that slot, would be Cheryl Weiss from the Oak Park Youth Assistance, who's joining us tonight. Is there any objection to that change?
No.
And then the other change is to move the financial statements up into the consent agenda. So approval of the financial statements up into the consent agenda. Is there any objection to that change?
None.
No objection.
All right. Are there any other changes to the agenda? All right. Then if there's no objection, the agenda is passed with those changes, and we move on to the consent agenda.
What?
And I
took it out the refrigerator because I was going to throw it away.
What?
Okay, I will just note that on the consent agenda, under the minutes for our November 23rd meeting, there is a misspelling that of one of the names of one of our auditors that was caught, and Ms. Greer is going to make that change. So with that change, I will ask, is there any, we have 5 items on the consent agenda for approval of minutes from 4 meetings and the approval of the finance statements. Is there any board member that would like to remove any of those items from the consent agenda? Seeing none, we will have a voice vote for approval of the consent agenda. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say no. The consent agenda is passed with that change, with that correction in the minutes. One second, I'm just going to. Okay. And that brings us to personnel recommendations, which in the future will, I'm sorry, that was my mistake. That should have been included in the consent agenda. But since I didn't include it, I'll do a separate motion to approve the personnel recommendations. Is there any objection to approval of the personnel recommendations?
Support.
All right, if there's no objection, then we will move to a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say no. So that is also passed. And that moves us to reports. And as I said, we have a presentation. We're joined today by Cheryl Weiss from Oak Park Youth Assistance. And she's here to tell us a little bit about some of the great work that they're doing in partnership with the district, the court, and the city, and about some of the new board members that they're asking us to approve at our next meeting. So Cheryl, the floor is yours. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you adding me to the agenda tonight, and I'm excited to share with you some of the things we're doing. First of all, for those of you that may not be familiar with us, the Oakland County Youth Assistance is in every community in Oakland County. We are the Oak Park Youth Assistance, and we are sponsored in 3 different ways. The Oak Park School Board is one sponsor. The City of Oak Park is another sponsor, and the Oakland County Circuit Court is the third. And our role is to support kids and family in Oak Park, especially when there are issues, when there are crises, when there's behavioral issues, truancy, abuse, neglect, anything that is affecting kids and families, we can support with. And we're really glad that we've been used and there's been more referrals, because that's what we are here for. So one of the challenges has been for us that we lost 3 of our great board members. When Stan Trumpeter retired, of course, we lost him. We lost Aisha Tyler, and we lost our officer, Robert Cook from the city, who retired. So we've been doing our best during COVID to do what we can, but with a considerably smaller group. And so we are anxious to increase our board members so we can do more, and I'll tell you about the plans in a minute. But first of all, the people we are asking you to approve tonight have already been approved by the City of Oak Park. We just need your vote to approve them. And they are as follows. I don't think Alyssa Klein or Carl Dade needs an introduction to any of you. They are fabulous social workers in the district, and both of them have been volunteering with us for a while, even before being official members. Their input is invaluable. I am retired. I'm a retired teacher. I've been retired since 2014. I don't have my finger on the pulse of what's going on, and their input helps to guide us. You know, I can ask them, what's going on? What are you seeing? What are the issues? And they are amazing. So we really need them on our board. Christy Price is a member from the community, and she is a psychology professor at Wayne State University. Dynamic, energetic, creative, full of resources. Christy is someone that is just phenomenal, and we love working with her. Another one I think you all know is Ben Weinberg, amazing community volunteer. He is a chaplain. He did run for the school board. He's volunteered with us. He's anxious to be involved in the community. He has a huge heart and wants to help and make a difference. So he is someone we definitely value. Our 5th person is someone I'm sure you also know, Jamie Powell-Horowitz. She was just elected to be one of the judges in 45th District Court. Jamie's phenomenal. Whenever there's something to be done, she's the first one. If we need bags, we were selling with the Friends of the Library, we were selling used books, and she ran and got 100 bags. When there's anything we need, she's recorded a video that we're going to post on our Facebook page about the legal system and what that's like. So information for kids and parents, whatever we need, she's always there. She also has volunteered. We're going to be offering a program with Mort Meisner, who wrote an awesome book. I have it on my shelf, Enough to Be Dangerous. And we were wanting to do an event, and of course with COVID, we can't use a school building, we can't use a city building, so we didn't know what we would do, but it's a fundraiser for Oak Park Youth Assistance. Jamie managed to be able to get us a place in a synagogue whenever we want to hold it. So she's just one of those dynamos that we love and we need. And the last person we're asking to approve is Leslie Ritchie. Leslie is a lifelong resident of Oak Park. She's been here 65 years. She is the president of the Oak Park Historical Society and the president of the Friends of the Oak Park Library. She also is always there. She pretty much single-handedly sold t-shirts for youth assistants this summer at the market. She's amazing. She loves helping. She loves the city. She loves kids. She loves doing what she can to make a difference. So those are the 6 people we are asking you to approve. Once you approve them tonight, hopefully, we will send them on to Oakland County Circuit Court where they will be approved, and then they'll be official and they can vote and they'll be recognized. Just a couple brief things I want to share about what we are up to. I was made aware of 6 children at Pepper who do not have coats or boots or hats or gloves, etc. And I'm very glad that Ann Connolly reached out to me. And I want to make it clear, we are here to help anybody and everybody within Oak Park that needs us. Pepper is a little bit unique because they have Ann there, and she and I communicate, and she reached out to me. I wish more schools would do that. You know, there's no way I can know of a need if I'm not informed of a need. So we are here to do what we can. We had already collected gift cards and gifts to help the families on our caseload. This suddenly came up after we'd already given away our gift cards. So what I did is I said, we will do what we can. I can't make any promises, but I'll try. So I posted in Oak Park Neighbors, which I created and run, Oak Park, Michigan Then and Now, which is another one of my groups, and I posted in the other Oak Park groups. The community has responded amazingly. We also heard about a family of 7 children who the father lost his job and they can't buy gifts. There's just no money. There's also a child at Pepper whose father is very seriously critically ill in the hospital. There's no way to get gifts. So we are doing all of that. I put out a call on Facebook, and I had one friend of mine who graduated in 1984, and she sent a gift card, an e-gift card. We had someone who graduated in 85 who also sent a gift card. Helene Zach, I just did an interview with her for a story I'm writing. She texted me just before the meeting, and she's donating $100. I mean, just the community is rallying behind us. I come home and I find gift cards in an envelope on my door. I find gifts at my door. So we are here, and it's not just Oak Park Youth Assistance. I want to stress that. The community is here. The alumni are here. The residents, the neighbors, we are all here to help the kids in the Oak Park schools. We just need to know more of how. Very briefly, other things we are doing is I am working on some programming to offer on our Facebook page over break to entertain the kids. We're going to do an art contest. We're going to do some fun activities that will be on our Facebook page. Please spread the word. We are also working on for January a program that will help parents. We know it's stressful. We know COVID has been extremely difficult for everyone in every way. And we know one of the issues is how parents are managing to juggle their own work responsibilities and their kids and multiple kids with multiple Zooms. So we are looking at ways that we can support and inform and inspire the parents that it can be done, and there are ways to cope and manage, and that we're all in this together, because we are. Whether we're parents or not, we're all here together. We're also working on putting together a tutoring program through Youth Assistance that we hope will start in January for the kids on our caseload that need some support, especially those kids with special needs. We're going to hire a special ed teacher and pay them to tutor these kids as needed. So I just want to thank you very much for hearing me, for allowing me this time. And I'm here to answer any questions you may ask. Please do approve those 6 people. Thank you.
Cheryl, before I go, can everyone hear me okay?
Not well.
Yeah, you sound muffled.
Yeah, okay, that's better.
Cheryl, do you need us to approve those tonight, or is it okay if we wait until our next meeting in January? Typically, we don't pass things the night that they come in front of the board initially, but if you need that to be done tonight, we can look at that.
No, that's okay. If you can put it on, because realistically between December and January, not much is going to happen in the courts either. So that's fine.
All right. Thank you. Are there any board members with questions for Cheryl?
Yeah, I have one quick question.
Okay, Trustee Goodfriend and then Smith.
Thank you, Cheryl. You're doing a tremendous job, and we've had it for a long time, this service, but what you've done in your efforts is superb. Now, I had spoken to you some time ago, and for my own neglect of not going on Facebook, etc., I didn't see the ads, but I will make contact with you and I'll provide you with a check.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
All right, Trustee Smith.
Yes, Cheryl. Yes, I was just actually perusing through the site real quick here. I had heard about it briefly, and I knew Mr. Trumpeter had basically kind of affiliated himself with the organization, as well as a couple of our other staff members here. And basically what I want to find out was this just an organization that's in Oakland County, or are they doing this Michigan-wide, the Youth Assistance?
Well, it started actually in Hazel Park. Okay. And it has spread. Oakland County, every community in Oakland County has one. Okay. There are similar programs around the state, around the country. Okay. I can't speak to them directly because I'm personally not familiar with them as much. I know there's something similar in Wayne County because we can only service kids that live in Oak Park. Understood. So the kids are referred to us that live in Detroit or Romulus, wherever they are. We have to refer them to the similar organization in Wayne County.
Yeah, the only reason I asked that too is because the fact that was there state aid as well to this organization, or is this
no
Strictly?
No, this is funded only through our 3 sponsors, which are you, the city, and the court.
Okay,
That's the only place we get our money besides the fundraising that we do. We
understood.
also do the 4th of July pancake breakfast, which of course we didn't do this year. But
Okay.
we do that, and we do a big auction or raffle, and we do it big.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to research a little bit more about that. Yeah, thank you very much, Cheryl.
Sure. Feel free to reach out to me directly for anything, anytime.
I definitely will.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Are there any other board members with questions?
I have a question.
Vice President Bailey.
Hi, thank you. Shaw, I was just wondering, how does one go about getting donations to you?
Great. A couple things. You can send an e-gift card directly to us. Our email is oakparkya@gmail.com. That's probably the easiest way, most convenient, most COVID safe. Or I have an envelope on my front door. I don't really want to put my address out here right now publicly, but if you want to message me, message my page, message Oak Park Youth Assistance, me, I'm all over, just message me and I'll give you my address. And you can put gift cards
Can you
there.
give that email address?
Gifts. Sure, the email is probably the easiest way. But thank you. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that.
All right.
Can you give it to me one more time, please?
Sure. oakparkya@gmail.com.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Any other board members with questions? All right, thank you, Cheryl. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
all that you're doing. And thank you for the great work that your organization does and also that you personally do, really being a voice of support for Oak Park with our residents and also with our alumni and so many others. So thank you so much.
Thank you. My
For
pleasure.
telling our story. We move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Hitchcock.
Okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
To pull up my PowerPoint, this is tricky because when I pull it up, then I can't see everyone, but we're going to move forward there. First in my report, I'm just going to start out with a very brief presentation about our thinking around our return to school. So as you can see, this is the same format that we previously presented, but I've updated it for the Monday, December 14th meeting. In light of all that has been happening in terms of the recent surge in cases and the predicted surge as a result of Thanksgiving travel, we are anticipating quite a bit of cases as well as issues as a result of the fallout from COVID-19. One of the things that I think is important to remember is that we are all on the same team. So we are all here to support our kids. And this has been a very challenging time for students, families, teachers, administrators, everyone involved. And I just want everyone to keep in mind that we're all wearing the same color jersey. We're all on the same team. So I want us to think that way as we are challenged throughout the rest of the school year in determining what is best for our students. So I just want to remind everyone of our guiding principles. We've been reminded of these several times, but I don't think it hurts to bring these up again. Health and safety, research-based decisions, commitment to social emotional support, high quality instructional practices, and providing learning tools for success. We know on June 1st, when we got together with our community of community members, staff members, board members, parents, we developed a number of core beliefs, and that is to maintain physical, emotional, and cultural safety, build productive relationships with all stakeholders, provide equitable anti-racist instructional practices, prepare thoughtful, successful, and engage members of a global community, and maximize resources with transparency and accountability. So with this plan, we are working hard to fulfill all of those areas within our core beliefs. Now, just as a reminder, we know that COVID-19 is a moving target. Every time we come back to the board table to think about what is next in terms of making decisions about what's best for kids, there are different variables that are guiding our decision-making. So we want to review how we will know when it's safe to return. An analysis of data from Oakland and Wayne County, specifically the city of Oak Park, city of Detroit, and Wayne County. Informed decisions based on bi-weekly conferences with the Oakland County Health Department epidemiologists, the lead nurse, our wonderful district registered nurse, Vanessa Long, and the assigned nurses to our school district through the county. Monitoring trends in local, state, and international data, the Oakland County recommendation for in-person instruction. We know that that is at a level E right now. And one of the things that I'll talk about as we're looking at the guidance for in-person instruction from the county is that we are currently at a level E, but we are well below a level E. We are so much lower than the level E that they didn't anticipate going to an F or a G. They didn't anticipate cases getting this high. Our goal is to be in line with some of our neighboring districts, our peers, and they are shooting for getting back to a level C before they consider returning to the classroom. Of course, survey data from parents, students, and staff, and board approval of our plan. So these are all the things that go into making this decision. Okay, so here we are. We created a crosswalk, really with the county risk level and our phased reentry, our thinking about phased reentry. So I mentioned that in the previous slide that we are currently at a level E, and we are shooting to be in lockstep with our neighboring districts before we even consider to return, which is a level C. Not only are we currently at a level E, what a level E means is that we have 150 cases or greater per million. Right now, we have 411 cases per million. So currently, our positivity rate is more than 2.5 times higher than the rate recommended or the guidance that's provided by the Oakland County Health Department for us to return to in-person instruction. So we come to you tonight basically offering that information around the guidance for in-person instruction and the crosswalk, some additional data from the teaching and learning survey results from our committee that has been tasked with helping to provide recommendations to ensure we have teacher and staff input. And when we asked our staff in the Teaching and Learning Council if they thought that we should push the date beyond our January 19th date, you can see in red that 95% of our staff indicated that they thought we should. Our most recent parent survey results, the prompt was, if the Board of Education decides to offer in-person instruction and the advisement from the public health officials indicates that it's safe, you will have your choice between the following two options. Please select just one choice below. So our parents selected, well, 63% of our parents selected that they would like to remain online for the remainder of the school year. Now, 37% indicated that they would be willing to return in person through some type of abbreviated schedule or hybrid model. The teaching and learning survey results also looked at testing. So we're in a unique situation where the state has asked for a waiver from the federal government in terms of testing, but we were not approved for a waiver. So we are potentially really anticipating needing to administer standardized tests in person this school year. Now, we know that with the change in the federal government, their approach may change through with our new education secretary, but right now it looks like we may have to take tests, standardized tests in person in April. So we asked our staff, should they begin before testing? Should we have students return before testing, or should they begin April 12th? So our teachers on the Teaching and Learning Council, as well as our support staff and administrators, indicated that they thought they should return the week before testing to give them some time to live into the new protocols and such that we have to put in place as a result of COVID-19. So I'm here this evening, and we're here proposing a new timeline. And our new approximate timeline really is a result of all of the data and the metrics that we previously discussed in those slides, the things we're looking at, global cases, local cases, county cases, the guidance that we have received from the Oakland County Health Department, the input from the Teaching and Learning Council. All of those things have contributed, as well as our consultation with our district nurse, who I will turn over to in a bit to answer any questions that you may have from a health and safety standpoint. But we have decided to recommend that this evening, the phased reentry return date that we had originally slated for January 19th be pushed back to February 22nd for return for staff and March 15th for return for students. And that January 19th, we would cancel that date, continue to monitor, and be prepared to make a recommendation on January 25th. So why do I say that? We know that we now have a vaccine. The vaccine is headed to various communities. Now we are hopeful. However, we don't know that there are going to be so many people that are vaccinated by late winter, early spring, that it's going to make a significant difference. But, you know, we never know. This COVID-19 issue is changing so rapidly that we want to be prepared to come back to the board on January 25th. And on January 25th, we will have taken a look again to determine what is appropriate at that point. If the board approves and we are at a level C in kind of in conjunction or in collaboration with our neighboring districts, our data locally looks good. We have the support of our registered nurse and our Oakland County nurses. We will be asking staff to return on February 22nd. So what does that mean? Staff first coming into the building, us providing training, going through all the proper protocols, the seating arrangements, the only walking down the halls in one direction, any changes in the lunch schedule to assure that we have smaller groups. All of those things would start on February 22nd. So the staff would just be teaching in the building online to their students, but also have some time to understand all of the protocols and the spaces that we need to use in order to keep everybody safe, with the idea in mind that students will return March 15th. So on February 22nd, we actually have another board meeting. If we get to February 22nd, when the teachers are back and we determine that it's just not safe enough for teachers to actually return that following day, or we're not at a level C. If we know we're not at a level C before February 22nd, we won't even have the teachers come back into the building. But in the event that we're in, hanging in the balance in a gray area, we will say we'll reassess on this February 22nd meeting to determine if it's safe for teachers to come back. If it's not, we will say it's not safe for teachers to come back, so they'll return to teaching online in their homes. And we will push the students back to following spring break, April 5th. This date, this February 22nd date, we may need to say February 23rd for teachers, so we have that night of the board meeting to make a determination. March 15th, if approved by the Board of Education and we're at level C, staff will return to work in person. If it is a level C or above, students may return in person for a phased re-entry if we stick with our original timeline. If we do not stick with our original timeline, because we're not at a level C or the board does not approve it, we would then push student returns back April 5th. So the bottom line, the cliff notes to this timeline is really, right now, we don't think that we are going to be, is safe for our students to return on January 19th. So we're coming to the board asking that you support the extension to return to February 22nd. However, in between February 22nd, in between now and the start of February 22nd, we have a January 25th board meeting where we'll be able to reassess to determine if it's safe. And at that time, we'll say, hey, we're going to stick to our timeline of teachers returning on the 22nd and students returning on the 15th, or we'll say, yeah, we're not quite ready yet. We may need to push the timeline back. Now, I want everybody to know that this timeline is not set in stone. There are no COVID police. We are not beholden to any specific guidelines or rules. We just want to give ourselves enough time to prepare for students to come back and adequately prepare staff with any new protocols, information, training, all of those things before it happens. So I want you to look at this as, this is a recommendation that we're making right now at 7:33 p.m. on December 14th. But that is subject to change. This stuff is happening so quickly. So I don't want anyone to get too concerned, because tomorrow something brand new could happen and we could have to change the course. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to, well, I'll open it up for questions for either myself or Vanessa Long, our district registered nurse.
Okay, are there board members with questions about that? Trustee Goodfriend.
Thank you. Sorry. The MSTAT is April the 12th, correct?
Yes.
And what if we pass that up with our children not able, God forbid, not coming back before that time to be available for it? Then what happens? Is there penalties?
I think what happens if they don't waive the test, we will have to offer the test to our students. Now, if students choose not to come, then that's one thing. But if our state superintendent asks or requests our new Secretary of Education to waive the testing, and they do not waive the testing, then we will have to administer the test to whoever is willing to come in. So they would just come in for the test schedule and return back home. And we've had some testing earlier in the year where that's taken place. And we found it to be successful. We were very appreciative of the staff members that helped to administer the test. However, if we're not prepared to come back to school, we are hopeful that our state superintendent will continue to put pressure on the federal government with new leadership, and that they will approve that. So we're hoping we're not in that situation, but if we are, we will have to administer the test, and parents would have to make the decision as to whether or not they feel comfortable with sending their children to school.
Thank you. I think that's the way we should run it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? All right, thank you very much. Dr. McCuskey, do you have more to your report?
I do, but I wanted to make sure to see if Vanessa had anything to add. She's actually our medical expert. You don't want me to have a PhD, not an MD, so you don't want to steer clear of that. So Vanessa, do you have anything you want to add?
I think, with COVID, it is very fluid. And just looking at our numbers will kind of determine where we should go. We are seeing an improvement in our numbers. On November 20th, we were at 1,000 cases per day, and now we're half of that with this pause. But we have seen an increase in hospitalization. So with the holidays coming up, I think this will give us some time to look at what happens with travel and some of the holidays that are right around the corner. I think that's pretty much it.
I have to say that Vanessa, she has been great. And she has a wonderful skill set and is quite knowledgeable, and it has her finger on the pulse. So we have been, she's been a wonderful addition to our team, and we are in contact with her at least daily, dare I say hourly at times, and we try not to bother her on the weekend, but sometimes we're not even successful in doing that. So I appreciate her and her work and all the time that she spent transitioning into the district to help us with this issue. Really quickly, I just want to say a couple of other things that are along the lines of COVID-19. I want to thank the Oakland County Health Department and the county in general for supporting our district nurses in Oakland County, throughout the county, in every district through the end of the school year. The grant was supposed to only take the nurses to December, but they have found some funding to continue to support all schools in Oakland County with nurses through the end of the school year. So we are very appreciative of that. Shockingly, we have gotten an update about vaccines, even though those shipments just are starting to go out today. We get an update every week on a superintendent's call where there's an epidemiologist, lead nurse, and other dignitaries from the health department. And one of the things that we have been told is that the vaccine will be administered in phases. And phase 1 has 3 different components: phase 1A, phase 1B, and phase 1C. We are told that in phase 1A, it will entail healthcare professionals and long-term care facility individuals or workers to get the vaccine first. Folks in the medical field and taking care of seniors in our long-term care facilities. But in the second phase, which is phase 1B, it right now is supposed to include educational personnel. Now, they did not explain what educational personnel meant. Does it mean, I'm positive it means teachers, but I'm not sure if it means teachers, custodians, maintenance, bus drivers, administrators, who is all involved in that educational personnel. And so I think right now what is happening is, I don't even know that they have the answer to that. I think they're trying to figure out how many doses of the vaccine do they have to first help our frontline workers in terms of our healthcare professionals, and then look at where they're going to go from there. But I did think that that was an important development and interesting information to share. Next, I'd like to thank Mr. Weaver, who donated $5,000 to the Oak Park Education Foundation. We appreciate his support. I know that he does that frequently, but we do not want to take it for granted. And so we really do appreciate his support. Also want to remind everyone, but I'm sure that we are all on top of this, that winter break starts December 21st and goes through January 1st. School will resume on January 4th. So we will see all of our students and staff back on January 4th after a well-deserved vacation. And I also want to take this opportunity to recognize Ms. Bailey. our vice president of our school board. This is her last meeting that she will be joining us in her official role as the vice president. However, she is welcome to come back and help us out and work hard anytime she would like following. But I would be remiss if we didn't all thank you for your service to the Oak Park School District and your support of all of our students and staff and hard work. So thank you so much. We appreciate all that you have done to move our district forward. And then finally, I just want to wish everyone a happy holiday season. And thank you all. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Hitchcock. Are there any board members with questions?
You have a question, Mr. Hoyter?
Trustee Smith.
Yes, President Hoyter. Yes, I'm just curious here. This, as along with other vaccines that we're making mandatory within our school district, due to the severity, is there possibly, the potential of us trying to make this the vaccine for this COVID-19 mandatory? I'm just trying to gauge the possibility.
I'm pretty sure that we're going to get guidance about that from the state.
Okay.
Even with our current vaccines, our traditional childhood immunizations and the flu vaccine, parents still have the choice as to whether or not they get their children vaccinated. They can always complete a waiver if for whatever reason they do not want the vaccine. So I'm not sure that we will be able to require it beyond what we're able to do right now. However, like I said, this is changing so rapidly, it's hard to tell. Ms. Long, do you have anything that you want to share about that?
Right now, the CDC and Michigan Department of Health and Human Services are not requiring even medical professionals to receive the vaccine. They don't predict that it will be a mandatory situation yet, even at the healthcare level. Eventually, right now, they're saying that it will be opened up to general population probably mid-2021 as they roll out the phases. So I think it's going to depend on the manufacturing of this and how things go in the first 1 or 2 phases. And it's an ongoing, 1A is going to start, 1B will start, but 1A might not be complete by the time 1B starts. So it's a rolling situation. And I think it's going to depend on the manufacturers and how quickly Pfizer has their first doses out. Today was the first dose given, and then Moderna will be hopefully approved in the next week. Johnson & Johnson has some doses coming out pretty soon. So it's going to be dependent on availability too. It's going to be a while before it is approved for children as well. So right now it's only approved for age 16 and over, and they are just looking into trials for children. So mandating something like that is in the future, but I don't think it's going to be a requirement.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And just to clarify on that, right now, do we require employees to, do we require the flu vaccination or other vaccinations beyond the MMR and those other ones that are mandatory? We do not. So it's unlikely that this would be a required one, either for staff or certainly for children who have not yet been approved to take this vaccination.
Yeah, certainly. I can't see us requiring any staff to do that. And I can't see the powers that be doing that either. If there is some type of requirement, it won't be coming from us. I guess I can say that. But I can't speak for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services or the governor, but I would be shocked if that was some type of requirement.
Now, Ms. Long, in terms of educational personnel, I thought that I read that it said that anyone working in schools in direct contact with children would be included in that. Did I read that correctly?
Yes, that's my understanding too. So that's the 1B phase. So, and they might not finish the healthcare frontline workers before they start essential employees. Essential is anybody who comes in contact with a variety of people. So yeah, I would assume that's bus drivers, the custodial staff, everyone in that whole picture.
Paraprofessionals. Yeah, okay, thank you. Any other board members have questions?
I have
right.
actually
Thank you.
a comment with
Okay.
Dr. Hitchcock, when you did, mention about the 1B education personnel, when you said that we wasn't sure who that is involving, but it sounds as if we just said it, that who it would involve, anyone who's dealing with children.
Yeah, I think keep in mind, legislators have a different understanding of what that means. So if you think about the hazard pay and who
Right.
that's included and who that has not, that was a decision that was not made by us, but made by the legislators. And so we have to keep in mind that these are people who are not educators. So their perception about who comes in contact with students may differ really from who we believe comes in contact with students, because many of them, I mean no disrespect, but they're making these decisions and they haven't been in school. They haven't been in the school since they went to school, and they have not worked in a professional environment like our educators and our support staff and administrators. So although I could see how you would be led to that point, our recent history has shown us that their perception is a little bit, well, not even recent history, dare I say, anyone who's been along long enough remembers various sanctions that they've put in place where their expertise and their thinking does not match pragmatic thinking in a typical school environment.
I do think there is a bit of a distinction though between, so this is not being determined by legislative action. This is being determined by the state health department based on CDC guidelines. And they have specified in those guidelines that when they speak about school personnel, they're talking about any school personnel that come in contact with children.
So I would again
I'm
say,
sure there may be some areas where there may be disagreement, but I think the paraprofessionals, school bus drivers, custodians, I think it would be hard to argue that they are not people who come in direct contact with children.
a couple of different things. A lot of that is driven by politics, whether we like to believe it or not. Some of the decisions that are made at the health department level. So I don't want us to believe that some of those decisions are made absent of politics. And I think that I don't doubt that support staff, teachers will fall in that category, but I do have doubts about some of the other staff members who come in contact with students, secretaries, a list of other folks, which I don't want to name because I don't want to get people in a place where they start to panic. But I do believe that history has shown us that the legislators in the politics that goes in decision-making, whether they are actually making the decision or influencing it, that they play a huge part in it, as well as some of the decisions that are made, whether they're health department decision makers or legislators, they are not individuals who are professionals working in a school environment. So their decisions are being made based on their personal experiences as a parent or as a student, but they're not being made as individuals who are in the buildings every day.
May I interject?
Sure.
So is there any way right now where they make these decisions, is there anything defined? It's always about the data, what's written, what's down. Is there anything written that would know that they're making these decisions of who's approved for it and who's not?
There are some things that they have hinted towards, but in terms of a clear-cut plan that this is exactly what we're going to do, right, they haven't provided that. And in fact, the phase 1A, 1B, all of those things have not been provided in writing. So okay, those been verbal directions or verbal information provided to us, but it has not been provided in writing, which makes me think is still somewhat fluid and has the ability to change depending on situations.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and if people have questions about the prioritization, that information is on the State Department of Health and Human Services website. So you can go there and there's a rather detailed explanation there about each of the phases. There's like within phase 1A, there's different levels. Within phase 1B, there's different levels. So there's a pretty lengthy document that's pretty detailed there that goes through all of those priorities and the justification for why those decisions are the way they are. And there's a FAQ also there for people to look at if they have questions.
I just want to say though, that don't take that as gospel, because we know, think about the CDC and how often that has changed throughout the pandemic. I just don't want anybody to get their heart set because they saw that in writing somewhere. And so they think that that's for sure going to be the case. So that's why I started this off by saying things are changing so rapidly. So I'm glad that information is there. Absolutely, please go look at it. But I would caution you to believe that it's set in stone.
Okay. Any other questions at this time? All right, thank you. We move on to Mr. Barr's presentation.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead, Steve.
Before I start, I will tell you I have a older brother who's a doctor out of state, and he'll be getting his vaccine on Wednesday. And at a very large hospital system where it is not required to have it, and many of the younger staff have opted against it at this time, which is kind of thinking they're not really at risk as much. So, you know, if a hospital system's not going to be requiring it, it's going to be hard to see anybody. But again, everything changes. It's kind of cool from the business office once to have something positive to say. During all this doom and gloom and COVID, we have two very exciting projects tonight to talk about. The second one is under the action items, but we will have a small presentation on the bond application. But this first one is the Lessinger building renovation. So Brian, if you can bring up the, hopefully you can share the screen, Brian Hines. This project we're going to talk about, and you've heard about this for several months, is one of the most exciting projects we've had here in many years. And it is taking the Lessinger building and converting it, repurposing it into a early childhood center. And we've been looking at this since I got here. And tonight we are going to give you an update of where we're at, what the timing is. And I think many people in advance right now, Mr. Burnett, Brian Hines, Mike Malone, and Darren McKenna, who are listed on the next slide. This is a project that we fully expect will be opening next school year with a bunch of little guys and girls. So if you just click, so this is our team from Partners, and it's kind of funny. I had to look at this twice because I think Darren and Mike may have pulled out their high school pictures. I didn't know we could do that on slides. So I don't really recognize them. But I'm going to let Brian, or actually I think Mike's going to start here. And Partners is the architectural firm that's been here since 2015, I believe. And they've done a knockdown job on, so what we're seeing tonight is some results of what's called the design development stage, and really the schematic design stage. So they're going to show you some really cool pictures, some drawings. We're far from done, but this is something that we are really excited about. And we think the community will be very excited about. So I'm going to turn it over to Mike, I believe. Mike Malone, partner from Partners in Architecture.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. And I'd like to thank all members of the board and the administration for allowing us to continue to work with Oak Park Schools. As Steve stated, we have been working with the district since 2015. And over the last year and a half, we've accomplished a handful of projects, very nice over the summer, this past summer. Hopefully you've seen some of the improvements. So we're excited to continue. And I'd like to offer some accolades to Dr. Hitchcock, Mr. Barr, and Mr. Burnett for the leadership and vision helping this project move forward. And yes, that was my high school picture. No, not really, but I have less hair. So I need an updated photo. So I'll work on that, Steve. Thanks for pointing that out, by the way. So as Steve introduced, myself, Mike Malone, I'm one of the principals here at Partners. I think I've seen most of you at one or two of the board meetings in the past. We also have Darren McKenna, who's senior project manager and office leader here on this project, and Brian Hines, who's our project architect. So Brian's going to kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the project. I'm just going to give you a real high level schedule overview. Steve limited me on how much time I could talk because I could talk all night, but I'll keep it really short and sweet. So as Steve stated, we started looking at this idea back in, I guess it was March, maybe just before March. We've done some walkthroughs. We did a couple of preliminary plans. And since then, we've been developing the documents a little further, which we're going to share with you today. And it's really the culmination of a lot of things, but it's still at a schematic level. So we're developing these drawings. You know, as an architect and a designer, there's multiple phases to our development. You know, there's an initial idea, it gets refined a little bit more. We look at budget numbers, it gets refined more, and then finally we have a final design. So really short and sweet, I'd say towards the end of February, middle to the end of February, we will be completing our design and construction drawings, which will be used for competitive bidding. The bids will be released in March, and we will be getting competitive bids from multiple general contractors. Once we have those, or the district will actually receive those, there's an evaluation process, picking the most responsible bidder, making sure we have appropriate qualifications and complete scope of the work. And those recommendations will be brought to the board in April. Once we have the approval, actually brought to you in March and then approved in April. Once we have approval of that, contracts will be signed and construction can begin. So our goal is to get these renovations completed for a fall occupancy. And I keep in mind that this project, this is kind of like an initial phase of this building's revitalization, if you will. I know there's additional work planned for the bond improvements, which will, this along with that will give you a complete renovation of that building. So we're very excited. I'm gonna turn it over to Brian and he can kind of walk us through the proposed improvements. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. So for anybody that's unfamiliar with the Lessinger building, it's located between 9 Mile and 8 Mile roads, between the Coolidge Highway and Wyoming Avenue. It's a nice parcel of land that's got a lot of green space. The building's just over 3,600 square feet and was originally constructed in 1955.
36,000, Brian.
Oh, sorry, 36,000. And previously it housed the Oak Park Alternative Education Center and has 14 classrooms that are approximately 840 square foot each. So this is a composite plan of the building. You enter just off of the north of the building where the cafeteria and the gymnasium are. It has 2 classroom wings, one to the east and one to the west. And they're flanked by a bunch of other composite spaces that bring together the plan, like the media center, the gang toilet rooms, some general office areas. The planned improvements come in just over around estimated $2.5 million. The majority of the improvements throughout are focused on bringing the building up to code to make the building comply with child care center rules, along with creating a safe, colorful, and inspiring place for students to learn. The majority of the code improvements planned include installing a new state-of-the-art fire alarm system, significant ADA improvements, and creating fire and smoke-rated corridors. So the fire rating hazard areas will also be improved. And also one other improvement is we're going to eliminate the steps at the exits to make sure that there's a nice egress out of those wings, especially out of the cafeteria. There's a cafeteria door. You step out, you're right on the grade as opposed to being safely onto a concrete slab. So the next slide that you're seeing here is Area A. Area A includes that main entrance that we were discussing. So this main entrance is going to be a secure entrance vestibule. So that secure entrance vestibule is going to be the first secure entrance vestibule within the district, which is extremely exciting because it's going to allow for visitors to enter the space securely and filter through the reception and into the school district so that you can filter people in and create that secure entrance. There's one other toilet room that will be fully upgraded to modern ADA compliances included with this main entrance improvements. So we're completely renovating the reception desk and the main office. So there's within Area A, we're having 2 ADA toilet rooms for adults. This is the third or the second area. We're calling it Area B. In areas B and C, we will be modernizing the classrooms with new fire-rated corridor walls, lighting, ceilings, SVT flooring, which is a strong, durable flooring system that's easily cleaned. Students' cubbies will also be added to the classrooms along with marker boards, sinks, and associated plumbing. So these 6 classrooms, they don't have toilet rooms connected directly to the classrooms on this wing, but they do have group toilet rooms that are going to be planned for complete renovations. As you can see there, the boys' T and the girls' T. In the next area, this is Area C. The classrooms will receive the same improvements as Area B, but will also receive renovated toilet rooms connected to the classrooms. One design highlight that we do want to show you that helps create an exciting themed identifiable environment for the early childhood students is what we are planning for their corridor walls. Next slide. So for this design, we plan on using destination imagination as the designing concept. We have selected one theme for each corridor. The themes are main streets and ecosystems. They're popular themes that are a great wayfinding and easily identifiable by students. They allow for a lot of fun colors and exciting imagery. So hopefully these 2 concepts will allow for the students to have a fun, exciting environment. This is an example of what you might see at each classroom. This is the Main Street theme with the fire station image that is applied to the wall with a durable vinyl graphic that's easily cleaned. The next slide utilizes the ecosystem theme. Again, we want to emphasize how this concept uses bright colors and fun imagery to help students find their classrooms each day and give them something exciting to look forward to each day. So the next slide is a image of the classroom. We utilize the new structure, SVT flooring to create learning zones for the students. While the flooring is a fixed object that creates space, the furniture will be highly flexible and allow for separate zones for the tables, or they can be nested together into groups. We have a couple more images that shows us the better views of these classrooms, including new cabinets and student cubbies. We're going to move to the exterior. This is an image of the main entrance. We are planning on giving the entrance a facelift with new metal panels and new signage. This will help rebrand the Early Childhood Center and improve the visibility of the entrance from the street. Currently, the early childhood classes are in each school, so by incorporating all of them within the school, this will help bring notice that early childhood is an option for each student as they start their elementary school experience. So by providing this main entrance canopy that's improved, it should help rebrand that school district or the school. For the overall site improvements, we have budgeted close to $100,000 in site improvements. Improvements range from new asphalt patching and paving in the parking lots and drives, restoring rutting lawn areas from vehicles to asphalt replacement to the west playground area. The next slide shows what that playground area will look like. It's planned right now for being installed in spring of 2021. We already have this thing bid out, and I think it's going to be a huge asset to the students in this area. And that's it. That's the new planned Lessinger Early Childhood Center. We might change the name of that. That's just the early goings of this project, but I would like to now ask if there's any questions and let Steve Barr run the show. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian. Hopefully.
I don't have any questions.
It's very exciting. It's a pretty cool project. Okay, up to you, Board Menachem.
All right. Are there any board members that have questions at this time?
I have a question.
I don't have any questions, but
I got Trustee Bailey and then Trustee Klein.
I don't have any questions. I just want to say that was a great presentation. The models look phenomenal. I'm really excited to see the finished work.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Bailey. Trustee Klein?
I'm just curious, and I echo Trustee Bailey's sentiments also. Very impressive. This is kind of out of curiosity, but what's the difference in cost in terms of doing such substantial renovations versus tearing down and ground up?
I'll let Mike might be able to decide, comment on this, but Mike, is it from guts to glory? Is it easily $300 a square foot if you're going to start building from scratch? Likely.
Yeah, I would say I mean, this building is a solid building and has really good usable components. To construct a new building, you're at least $250 to $300 a square foot in today's dollars. So
for a building of this size, it would be close to like 10 million to start ground up.
10 to 15 million, yeah.
Okay. You guys are doing a great job. It looks excellent. Thank you.
I didn't state this earlier, but this will be funded where possible out of the sinking fund, which is, we've been accumulating some money there. If the bonds pass, we could use some of that for technology and the like and furniture, because you cannot take technology and furniture from a sinking fund. But this is primarily going to be funded from the sinking fund for the construction.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Hoyta, can you bring back our screen, please? Thank you. I do have some questions, Mr. Hoyta.
Go ahead.
I noticed that in the playground area, Mr. Barr, that it looks like there's fencing from the office area around. Is that correct?
I didn't see if it was office, but there will be a fence around this playground for preschool.
That's what I was wondering. Okay.
Yes.
So during the summer months, when there is not school in session, will that will be accessible to the community?
Yes, there'll be a gate you can get in there. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
The other thing is in regards, because it borders on the Greenbelt and the commercial area, is there going to be in the back of the building? There's a portico there as well. Will there be fencing there as well?
we don't have plans for any other fencing at this time, except for around any change in fencing, except for around the playground, for safety reasons. But
Right.
that's the only place at this time that we're looking at any kind of fencing at the school.
Because there's a lot of foot traffic that comes through
Mm-hmm.
from the industrial area.
Okay.
I live in that area. And
Okay.
I'm familiar with it. The other thing is what will transpire with the kitchen that was for the food service.
So depending how we decide, good question. So there's really two kitchens there. One is for food service, and
Okay.
we expect we're going to likely use that to serve meals to children. And with the GSRP program, a lot of this will be GSRP programs of
Mhm.
classrooms coming from the schools,
Mhm.
where they a lot of times eat in the classroom. So we will use that kitchen and possibly use the cafeteria, again, COVID pending what that looks like. But the other part is there is that culinary arts wing that you may have seen. And we expect that Mr. Wineclaw from Chartwells is going to repurpose that into a catering area for the district.
Oh, that's a great idea.
So he's been out there looking at that already with a food service consultant, I believe, with partners. So we're gonna use all the areas. And Mr. Burnett had a good walkthrough with Mr. Weaver's group, and that kitchen is being left intact as they purchased it, which is really good equipment.
It's a magnificent piece of equipment that's in there, and it can certainly work well for a food service.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do any other board members have questions? All right, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Brian. And thank you, Steve. And we move on to our report from Ms. Baptiste.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Tonight we have our reconfirmation. And so what I'm going to do is share my screen in just one moment. So we have our reconfirmation for December. And I have sent this out to the board, but in regards to public, what I'm going to do is update, this is the current plan. I'm going to update the recommendation with what Dr. Hitchcock presented, also including that we will be having the board meeting on January the 25th. So the entire timeline that was just presented will be going into this plan. And there are two things that we have for this reconfirmation. One is the public comment from parents. And then two is our district-wide data for two-way communication, which includes, I won't go through every single data point, but it includes all of the programming that we have at Oak Park, including our virtual academy, all three of our elementary schools, our middle school, Nova, the virtual academy, the alternative education program, and our high school. And so as you see here, our district totals for the last 4 weeks are on average above 91% across the board. And so these are two-way interaction rates of teachers reaching out to parents, reaching out to students as well. If the student is under the age or under the grade of 6th grade and below, you would reach out to the parent. But at the secondary level, reaching out to the student. So these are the rates that we're at. This portion of the presentation is for public comment from parents and or guardians on our extended COVID-19 learning plan. And what it entails is just reconfirming the way in which we deliver instruction, primarily the mode of instruction, and that is virtual. And so at this time, we can open for public comment regarding our extended COVID-19 learning plan. Our parents and guardians, if there are any members who would like to offer public comment, what I will do is document that. I always watch the board meetings and make sure that I verify whatever was said, so I get the exact writing or the exact statement, and then we share it on our transparency link. And so at this time, if we have any public comment regarding anything related to our extended COVID-19 learning plan or how learning is going on for our students from parents and families, now would be the time.
All Right, so at this time, I've opened up the chat feature. So if there's a parent or guardian that would like to comment, they can either raise their hand in the reactions or participant tab, or indicate it. Oops,
And what I
I'm
will
pressing.
do, I will just
sorry.
take comments. I stopped the share, but if I'm asked to put the share back, I will, of course, but I'm just taking.
I'm sorry, I thought I had turned off the share by mistake. Go ahead.
Would you? Okay. All right.
All right, so again, if there are parents or guardians who would like to provide a public comment at this time, you can type that in the chat or raise your hand through the participants feature, and I will call on you to provide feedback to the Board of Education on this plan. Lisa R. has raised her hand, so you go ahead, please.
Hi, yes, I had a question. I've been following most of the meetings, and I think the teaching and learning people are doing great. I have a third grader, and he seems to be doing pretty well on the virtual learning. My concern is that he's doing better on the virtual learning, that if he was to come back in person, I'm wondering, me and my husband both think that he might go backwards. I'm one of the oddball parents that is not complaining about the kid is not picking up what they should on virtual learning. He's actually doing well. So my question to, I guess, the board and you, Ms. Baptiste, is there going to be an option for OPARC students to continue virtual learning? Is the school district looking at maybe adding that besides the virtual school that they have that's not part of OPARC, but it is OPARC? I'm a little confused on that. Because I need to weigh some options, if you understand what I'm saying, because I've walked away from everything to focus on making sure that my child gets the education that he needs. So I want to know if OPARC is looking at other options as far as if there's kids out there that I know in the community, because I've talked to other parents that are thinking the same thing. Is OPARC going to offer a virtual of their own?
So thank you, Lisa, for that comment. In this portion of the meeting, we really aren't able to have two-way communication. So your comment is definitely going to be recorded as part of the feedback, and we welcome that. I would encourage you, if you do have specific questions about your son's education and the options that will be available to him, to contact the district office so you can discuss that with the right people. And I will just provide general clarification, and Ms. Baptiste, you can correct me if I'm wrong. In this plan, we're talking about offering an in-person option. We're not talking about we're not talking about eliminating the online option at this time. Is that right?
No, not at this time. The option is for, as we are at this time, virtual, for us to continue with being virtual.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Are there any other parents or guardians that would like to provide feedback at this time? Please raise your hand in the participants tab or type something in the chat. And I don't see any at this time, so we will leave it there. Thank you.
I want to thank the parent who made the comment. I have documented it in the area for public comment, and it is here documented. We're hearing you. Thank you.
Thank you. And we move on now to Ms. Diglio.
Good evening, everyone. Just a quick a few quick updates, and I always like it when I have the opportunity to publicly acknowledge folks and to also remind parents about some of the things we're doing around immunization. So last December 3rd, we had our second immunization and flu shot fair. We had it at the high school, and thanks to the quick thinking of our nurse, Vanessa Long, and Shelley Sherman, and Rasonda Dorsey, who are really champions behind all of this, made some adjustments so that we could have both fairs basically outside as a drive-through. We had 51 participants, and of that 51 participants over 2 dates, 46 of them were our children. And I've have updated the board periodically about our need to make sure all of our kids are immunized per the law, so that they can, and when we're ready to come back in person, that all of our kids can participate in person. Rasonda Dorsey is our nurse at the high school, and she is at the clinic every day. If you are unable to make it to the drive-in immunization fair, she will take appointments daily, K-12. You don't have to be a high school student. You need to just go to our website, look at the area where we have all of our school health information, and you can contact Rasonda Dorsey and make an appointment for your child or children if they still need to have immunizations updated. Along the lines of what Dr. Hitchcock shared with us in the ever-changing COVID-19, the Department of Human Resources, along with Vanessa Long, our district nurse, and our school health team, we are constantly updating protocols and had to make quite a few adjustments this week to how we welcome folks into the building. We're 100% remote right now. However, we are still a working, functioning business. And because of that, there are needs to go into the buildings, check mail, take care of business that we can't do from our homes. So we've had to make some adjustments to those protocols, but I just wanted to let our folks on the call, and even our board members, if they're to visit the school buildings, there's quite a few changes. We're doing a sign-in sheet, a sign-out sheet. We've updated our checklist if you are visiting schools. I want all of our staff to know that we appreciate all the work they're doing from home. We know that sometimes they have to access the building, but because of some of the reporting requirements that are going to be on the responsibility of the schools, we had to tighten up our procedures so that we know everyone that is entering and exiting the building and who they may have come in contact with. So if you are in the buildings as board members at any point, our staff members at any point, know that those changes are in place, not only to protect you and keep you safe, but also to increase our ability to report any close contacts should there be a COVID-19 positive case. We're ramping a lot of this up as well to align with Dr. Hitchcock's report tonight, that we have to, as we get closer to going to school in person, our protocols have to be airtight along the line. So as changes occur, we will stay aligned with those changes and make adjustments. And they can be fast and furious, as you all know, but we're doing everything in our power to make sure that we keep things updated. The other thing that I wanted to mention, because this will impact all of Oak Park schools, is that a group of us met, Dr. Hitchcock, myself, of course, Vanessa Long, and also Steve Burnett. We met with Eric Tungate, the city manager, along with his HR director, and a young lady by the name of Janae Scott, who works for the Henry Ford Health Systems. And Miss Scott wants to partner with Oak Park School District and the Oak Park City so that she can, on a weekly basis, bring free testing for COVID-19. And tentatively right now, we're hoping to house that or welcome her into the high school every week. We are going to support her with marketing, advertisement, informing, which is why I'm bringing it up at a board meeting this evening. We're hoping to start this free COVID-19 testing and partnering with the Henry Ford Health System beginning January 6th, the first week we return from school. We chose Wednesday because we know we get a lot of folks come to the school district for our weekly meals, and we are trying to make it convenient and easy for them to maybe drive in for their weekly meal. And also, if they feel a need to get tested for COVID-19, they can do so right there at the high school. So we're still very much in the planning phases to get everything straightened out, but more to come. But I want the community as well as the entire district know that this is going to be in our district, and it is a partnership that we are really excited about. So those are things on the horizon out of the not just human resources in partnership with the whole district, and also just to align with the message that Dr. Hitchcock shared this evening. That's all I have, and I just want to make sure I wish everyone a good holiday and certainly a happy 2021.
Thank you, Carol.
I have a question.
Do any board members have questions?
I have a question.
Trustee Smith.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Diglio. I appreciate your report. And also, I was actually just thinking about how, when or if the district or the school district was ever going to think about implementing a COVID testing site. And I just searched some other ones that are in Detroit public schools, and they have about 9 schools that have testing going on currently. And I just thought that would be great for the community as well. So thank you very much for updating us on that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do any other board members have questions? Trustee Corcoran?
Yes, I have a quick question. Mr. Iglio, did they say that the tests were going to be rapid or just regular COVID tests with the swabs?
We're going to have to start with the regular tests. They're working, the Henry Ford Health System is working on a reliable, fast, rapid test that they can bring to the site. But for starters, they're going to use the regular test. But that is something that's a goal that they'll bring that onto this partnership or into this partnership as well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Hoyda.
Trustee Goodfriend.
Ms. Diglio, will there be a fee charged to persons for the testing?
No, that's really what's wonderful about this. It is a free COVID-19 testing site, and it is welcoming the entire community and the school district.
Without stipulation.
Without stipulation. And Mr. Tungate made a great point. Some of the Oak Park residents also go to neighboring school districts, and they're welcome as well. So this is opening it up to the entire community.
I think that's just great. Thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Any other questions from the board? All right. Thank you, Ms. Diglio. We move on now to audience participation. And at this time, any members of the audience that would like to speak can indicate that by raising their hand in the participants tab or indicating in the chat, which is now available. And I will call on you to speak to the board. We ask that you please identify yourself and limit your comments to 3 minutes so that all that wish to speak may have the opportunity to do so. We do remind the community that this is one-way communication, so we value your input and we'll consider it, but we will not be responding directly to any questions or comments that are made during audience participation. So at this time, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to provide feedback to the board or comments, please raise your hand in the participants tab or indicate in the chat. All right, I don't see any public comment. I will go ahead and move forward with our agenda. We move on to our action items. And We'll start with action item 6A. Trustee Goodfriend, can you read that one, please?
I haven't got that section yet, Mr. Loida.
I haven't been order.
Okay, go ahead, Trustee Smith.
Okay. Action item 6A, approval of OPSD MIOSHA Emergency Rule 5.8 temporary remote work policy. Resolved that the Board of Education approve the Oak Park School District temporary remote work policy for Michigan Occupational Safety and Health Administration MIOSHA compliance as presented by Superintendent Hitchcock at the November 23rd, 2020 board meeting, first reading, and tonight's meeting, second reading for approval.
Support.
Moved by Trustee Smith, supported by Trustee Bailey. Are there any questions on the motion? Do any board members have questions on the motion? Okay, Ms. Gerke, please call the roll.
Klein,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Hoda,
Yes.
Cochran,
Yes.
Goodfriend,
Yes.
and Bailey.
Yes.
Okay, we move on to 6B. I'm going to read that one because we do have a slight change in the language. So action item 6B, resolve that the Oak Park Board of Education accepts the 2019-2020 audit report for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2020, as presented in the November 23rd, 2020 board meeting by Ms. Jamie Rivette, CPA CGFM with the firm of Yo and Yo.
Support.
So moved by myself, supported by Trustee Bailey. Are there any questions on the motion? All right, Ms. Greer, will you please call the roll?
Hoda,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Goodfriend,
Yes.
and Cochran.
Yes.
All right, 6C, Trustee Klein, can you read that one, please?
Mr. Hoyt.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Trustee Klein.
I think somebody else mentioned something.
Excuse
Kinda
me.
like Steve.
Mr.
Yeah.
Hoyt, can I give an
Mr.
introduction to this briefly on 6C?
I'm sorry, Pat, go ahead.
Mr. Barr would like to speak first.
Okay, go ahead.
Included in your packet is a 94-page bond application, and you've heard about this previously, but I just wanted to give you just a brief synopsis over 2 minutes of what's happened in the last 2 weeks since we spoke with you last.
Mr. Barr, can we bring the motion? And
Oh, sure.
so it's on the
Absolutely.
table, and then
Sure.
we can have discussion?
Absolutely, sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Mr. Klein, go ahead.
All right, it's a mouthful, so hang on. Resolved to apply for preliminary qualification of bonds by the state treasurer for the purpose of financing the school construction description in this application. 2, that said application is presented to the state treasurer for action prior to the official action of the Board of Education calling the election on said bond issue. 3, resolved that this Board of Education will present a final qualification application to the state treasurer for qualification of their bonds after this bond issue has been approved by the electors of said district. 4, read this application and approved all statements and representations contained herein as true to the best knowledge and belief of the board. 5, authorized the secretary of the Board of Education to sign this preliminary application and submit same to the state treasurer for review and approval.
Support.
So moved by Trustee Klein, supported by Trustee Bailey. Thank you. Now we can go ahead and have conversation. Mr. Barr.
Thank you. Sorry for interrupting you. I just wanted to mention kind of what I said is in the cover in the board book, what happened in the last week or two. This goes way back to February with myself, Plant Ryan Cressa, then Mr. Burnett came on board evaluating all the buildings. We had a technology committee. This is about a 10-month process, and I don't want anyone taking this lightly what has come about here. Plant Ryan Cressa helped lead this whole process, put this application together with our assistance, and then last Monday, along with Chris Imarino from Troon Law Firm, Jesse Nelson, who's our financial consultant from Baker and Tilly. But it was quite a process last Monday. It was Dr. Hitchcock's first time before Treasury for our first bond. And Carol Densmore from Michigan Department of Treasury literally manicured this thing before we were even there, looking for small words like, don't use the word miscellaneous. That means it's not specific enough, or various. So they take it extremely seriously. And in your, as they should, in your packet is the bond application. I'm just going to share this really quickly and then I will be done. But this is the document that shows what goes to the state after tonight. And this will be sent to them. And literally on page 3 is the bond language. This is the ballot language that will show to, we will come to you in late January, I believe January 25th, for your approval to put on the ballot. And you'll see a $0 mil net increase and so on and so forth. But that's just a summary. Behind it, as I've said to you in the past, I'd share with you, is all the details supporting the $54,445,000. That's a lot of money. And we will take care of it properly if the community decides they feel it's appropriate for the school district to have this. So there is a lot of information here. Every building, building by building, project by project is listed here. And some projects may change. And of course, you always have $150 million of projects when you have $54 million of money. Just like at home, you have more projects than money. So this is an incredible document that was put together by a big team and assisted by Treasury. Again, upon your approval, this gets sent to them tomorrow for their final review. Ballot language comes to you on January 25th. And then we spend 3+ months informing the community of what this bond issue is. So I just want to let you know what the next step was. We've been taking you step by step for several months. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any board members that have questions? Trustee Goodfriend.
Mr. Barr, in regards to, there's just a couple I have. When this report shows Freshman Institute, where are we discussing Freshman Institute? At Oak Park High School, or where the Freshman Institute was at the Clinton Center?
At the Clinton Center. But you'll see there's not a lot of money going into it in the beginning because we're working on trying to reimagine what that could be. So at this point, it's the building, the Clinton Center, not the freshman. Right, a good, very good question. It's the former Freshman Institute. We didn't rename it for the bond application.
Okay, that's what confused me when you have the high school. The second thing is in regards to the high school on the extensions of what is cost. There's number 20, I think it's 2.0 from the site. And you have, and this is the high school. Okay. It's building additions and renovations. That's the heading. It's convert pool to indoor field house. What are we saying there about our swimming pool?
The proposal in here is to repurpose it from a pool into a secondary gym or a field house to use for our students and to use for the community. When I presented that idea to the city manager several months ago, he was extremely excited about it also, thinking that there really is not a lot of gym space or similar space in the community. So it would really, it would take $3 to $4 million to turn that pool into a pool again, because it's been abandoned for so long. So it is repurposing it into a field house or a gymnasium. Secondary.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, that's all.
So what you're saying is there would no longer be any thought of a swimming pool at Oak Park High School.
That's right.
And that's your decision, correct?
That's a recommendation.
A recommendation. Thank you.
And it's just so you know, things in this bond application can change. So when you see things in here and it will say, we're doing something like that, or we're doing this, or we're doing that, we can change things around. Okay, as long as it falls within the ballot language that you saw earlier in the application. And it would. So if we decided as a board and as a district, we'd like to repurpose that or renovate it and put $3, $4, or $5 million as a pool, the language allows us to do that.
Okay, that's what I was wondering, because actually the board should have input into this.
Yep.
And I appreciate that. So
Yep.
we'll certainly see that to be an issue that will be agendized.
Yep. And then we'd have to say, you know, because the cost for that is, it's in several areas. I think it's $500,000 to $700,000. So, you know, if we decided to make that into a pool, you know, for 3 or 4 million, we have to figure out where do we take 3 or 4 million from other projects. So,
Well, that's true, but I mean,
a lot of time on prioritizing is what we had to do. Yeah, we wish we had $150 million, Mrs. Goodfriend. It'd be really nice.
well, of course, but in the meantime, the board has to make some decisions with
Absolutely.
administration.
Absolutely. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So it has to be brought to the board rather than all this printed. I did read it, but that doesn't mean everybody goes through it like
That's right.
what I was reviewing.
Yeah, everything in this application is not locked in stone, far from it.
Okay.
As long as what we have to do is we have to follow the ballot language, and
Okay.
it's very high level.
I appreciate it. I like what I've seen.
Good,
I
thank you.
don't like about the polls. Okay.
Okay, I understand.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there other questions from the board on the bond proposal or the bond application?
Nope.
Okay, so then the question is about approving the bond application. Ms. Greer, can you please call the roll?
Goodfriend,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Hoda,
Yes.
Cochran,
Yes.
and Smith.
Yes.
Okay, the motion is approved unanimously. We move on to 6D. Trustee Corcoran, can you read 6D, please? No? Trustee,
I'm sorry.
that's okay.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hoyter.
Yes.
I'm quite sure that this needed to be asked at the beginning when we wanted to accept the agenda. But is there any way that we can move 6F up in 6C so that we can take that vote prior to going to closed session? Or does it have to follow the flow?
I'm not sure I understand what you're asking. Are you asking, can we vote on 6D in closed session?
Well, 6F is the reconfirmation. And then after that, we have to go into closed session. So my thing was that why not vote on the last action item prior to going to closed session?
No, so the closed session is going to be after the information items. We're going to go into, there's a proposal to go to closed session to discuss negotiations.
Okay.
So, okay.
Okay.
So 6D, Trustee Bailey.
Approval of super evaluation. Resolved that the Oak Park Board of Education approve the superintendent evaluation.
Support.
Moved by Trustee Bailey, supported by Trustee Smith. Do any board members have questions about the motion? Trustee Goodfriend?
It's not the motion. We didn't get the report from Dr. Green. The calculations that he assumed. He said we would be in our hands.
I can, that it's the same thing that you saw before, but I can send that out as soon as the meeting's over.
Well, that's what I've been waiting for.
Okay, I apologize.
Then I can't vote.
Okay. The motion was moved by Trustee Bailey, supported by Trustee Smith. Ms. Greer, can you please call the roll?
Smith,
Yes.
Bailey,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Hoda,
Yes.
Cochran,
Yes.
and Goodfriend.
No, because I did not get the report as we were told we could expect.
Okay. So with the superintendent's evaluation being passed, I can share with the community that the board over the last few weeks has gone through the evaluation process with the superintendent, carefully reviewing many different aspects using the MASB evaluation tool. the board, the evaluation is split up into 3 sections. One of them is based on the goals that the board set at the beginning of the year. And on that section, the board rated the superintendent highly effective, which is the highest ranking she could get. The second section is about her performance on a number of different areas within the job role of the superintendent. This is more of a subjective judgment of the board. And on that section, the board rated the superintendent as 96.6%. So that's also highly effective. And then the third section, and this is again the same as it is with teacher evaluations and administrator evaluations, is worth 40% of the score, which is by state law mandated to be about the student performance on growth test measures. On that section, based on the objective data that we reviewed, the superintendent was rated effective, which is a 3. And so her total score was an 88% once you factor all the different percentages in, which is considered an effective rating for the superintendent. So the board wants to thank the superintendent for her very hard work this year in a particularly challenging year. And in the evaluation, the board noted how much more challenging the performance of the superintendent in this environment was. So thank you, Dr. Hitchcock, and thank you to the board members for their hard work.
Thank you,
And I apologize, it was my fault that I didn't forward out the actual completed evaluation tool to the full board, and I will make sure to do that as soon as this meeting is over.
Thank you.
Then in other words, Mr. Hoyt, you caused me to not be able to vote in with.
I'm sorry,
with,
Trustee Goodfriend, if you have a
just a minute.
if you have a comment that's related to the agenda, I can take it. Otherwise, it's out of order.
It is the agenda of the evaluation, and I did not get the report, nor did any other board member, it appears. That was assured to us.
We move on to 6F. Trustee Smith, can you 6F, please?
Yes. Action item 6F, reconfirmation of COVID-19 extended continuity of learning plan. Recommend motions. Resolved that the Oak Park Board of Education approve the December 2020 extended COVID-19 learning reconfirmation plan as presented at tonight's meeting.
Support.
Thank you, Trustee Smith. Thank you, Trustee Smith. Moved by Trustee Smith, supported by Trustee Bailey. Are there any questions on the motion? All right, Ms. Greer, can you please call the roll?
Bailey? Bailey?
Yes.
Hoda?
Yes.
Yes.
Cochran?
Yes.
Longden, I'm sorry, Smith?
Yes.
Goodfriend and Klein?
Yes.
No.
And Klein?
I'm sorry, Trustee Klein, what was your vote?
I voted no.
No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We move on to 6E, which is approval of the closed session. Trustee Bailey, do you have that in front of you? Can you read that? Or Trustee Goodfriend?
No, I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. Trustee Bailey?
I have it. You said 6. I'm on 6.
6G,
7.
sorry.
Closed session.
6E.
Sorry,
6E.
6E. Yes.
Okay, 6E. Okay. 6E closed, cough. Resolve enter into closed session following the agenda and before adjournment for the purpose of Section 8C of the Open Meeting Act negotiation.
Support.
Moved by Trustee Bailey, supported by Trustee Goodfriend. Are there any questions of the motion? Ms. Greer, can you please call the roll?
Klein?
Yes.
Goodfriend?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Cochran?
Yes.
Hoda?
Yes.
And Bailey?
Yes.
Okay. We move on to information items. Information item 7A is about the approval of youth, is the Oak Park Youth Assistance Board members, which was presented earlier by Cheryl Weiss. So do any board members have questions on that?
I thought we were pushing that to the next meeting.
We're going to vote on it at the next meeting, but it is information at this meeting, so we can bring it for action at the next meeting.
Oh.
Okay. And that brings us to communications and addenda. Is there any communications or addenda from the administration? Any communications?
Don't have anything. Thanks.
Anything from the community? Any members of the community that would like to make a comment at this time? Again, you can indicate that by raising your hand in the participants tab, and I will call on you. All right, and any members of the board that would like to make, have any communications or addenda?
I have one thing, and it's more just I just wanted to give a kudos out to the entire school district on the job well done, even though we're going through this constraint. Just really appreciate all your hard work and efforts, and just know that we'll see this through all together. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Trustee Smith. Trustee Corcoran?
Yes, I just like to say real briefly, my stepmother, well, no, she's my mother-in-law through my sister. Her name was Dr. Jane Browning Smith. She was the vice president of Spelman College, and she passed on Saturday, December the 12th. And I just want to say that she was appointed by President Clinton to the National Women's Business Council. Thank you.
Condolences.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other members of the board that have comments or addenda?
Yeah, I have a comment.
Trustee Klein, go ahead.
I just want to echo earlier, it was mentioned that this is the last meeting that our vice president is going to be with us in an official capacity, and she's been with us for a few years before I was here. But certainly in the last 9 months, I've seen her dedication and fire for the school district. And I appreciate, and everybody who's listening in should also recognize that we had an asset, and we're happy to have our incoming board member, Al, who I believe is on the line also, but that doesn't take away from what we're going to miss, missing our vice president, so thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Klein.
Thank you, Trustee.
And
Trustee Klein.
Thank you.
And I'm going to get to my my words about Trustee Bailey in a minute, but I do want to mention on the legislative front that there is a bipartisan COVID relief bill for schools that was released today by in Congress. That's going to be considered over the next few weeks by our senators and representatives, and ultimately hopefully signed by the president into law. And it would provide, let me make sure I have my numbers right here. The proposal would provide, okay, I can't find it here, but I'll go off the top of my head. Here we go. $54 billion for K-12 education around the country. This is obviously very important relief. So if you have a point of view on that, I encourage you to make sure that our congressmen and women, our senators, and the president's office hear about that, so that they can, as they consider that going forward. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge that it is going to be our last meeting with Trustee Bailey, our vice president, and I want to say that over the last 2 years, this board has been through the process of transitioning between superintendents, hiring a new superintendent, and navigating the district through COVID. And so I appreciate how Trustee Bailey's quiet leadership has been such an important part of our board. And I know that I've grown from working with her, and I look forward to working together on other things for this district and for our community going forward. So thank you for your service to our community, Trustee Bailey, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you, President Hoyda. That means a lot.
All right.
We
and
all
with
send
that,
cyber hugs.
we will
I'm sorry.
adjourn from the open meeting. We will adjourn from the open meeting into closed session. Once that closed session is completed, we will come back into the open meeting to finish it out. So thank you, everyone who joined us. You're welcome to stay here, or else we'll see you next time. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.